Taylor Swift's new album, Lover, is just out. This is the first album to come under her new label, Republic, and of course the first album to come after her massively public feud with A-list music manager, Scooter Braun. Taylor's always breaking records, but this is very impressive. Even before Lover hit, it did 1 million in pre-sales.
Yeah, that almost never happens now. She's in a category not quite by herself, but with Adele and maybe Garth Brooks. Streaming has changed numbers a lot. It's not like people are running out to buy 1 million CDs, but it's adding up to an awful lot. And Taylor Swift does still sell a lot of physical product, which means more money for her.
I don't even know if a lot of people knew what masters were before Taylor Swift started feuding with Scooter Braun, but now she says she's going to re-record her masters. Do you really think she's going to do that?
I wouldn't doubt it. She says she is, and she tends to be a person of her word. She was outraged when Scooter Braun, her nemesis apparently, bought the rights to her catalog as part of his purchase of Big Machine Records. That means he owns most of her songs now. It doesn't necessarily work that way in such a cut and dried fashion, okay? Because he owns the rights to the physical song. If somebody puts it out on a CD, he owns the rights to that. But because she's the publisher, recorded music versus publishing, she controls where it gets used, okay? If they want to use one of her songs in a soap commercial, she says, okay, that's the master that gets used. Now, depending on what her contract said, and this morning she said that per her contract, as of November 2020, she can re-record her old songs, okay? She records a new version of You Belong With Me or something like that, okay? As the publisher, it's her right to say, okay, soap company, don't use that old version. Use this new version. That deprives Scooter, Big Machine, of a lot of money.
Yes.
A lot. And, judging by past behavior, judging by how wronged she apparently feels by this deal, judging by her past history of being pro-artist. And yes, she's one of the biggest artists in the entire world. She does tend to walk it like she talks it and bring other artists along and help them. I'd say she's going to work this for all it's worth.
Of course, Scooter is one of the biggest managers and certainly one of the buzziest names. He manages Justin Bieber, of course, Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato. What does this mean for him? Because are we going to see a lot of celebrities now side with Taylor, not want to work with Scooter? What do you think?
I mean, all that's possible, but what he's probably thinking about most is what it means for the value of the asset that he just bought for $300 million. And there were sources saying that, like, oh gee, the way, with the way that the music industry is booming, what he just paid $300 million for is now worth $1 billion. Well, when Taylor starts chipping away at the value of that, the company that invested with him has got to be wondering, we didn't bargain for this, what's going on here?
Right, and especially given that Taylor Swift has spoken so publicly about this, I'm sure if any film or commercial or brand wants to use one of her songs, they probably will go to her, because if they don't, that could be bad press for them as well.
So much of it is about optics. Taylor is always thinking about how things appear, as she has to. She's very good at getting the court of public opinion, or at least of her fans, on her side. A lot of people are cynical about that, so it can sort of cut both ways. But, if you're a big corporation that wants to use a Taylor Swift song, are you going to upset Taylor Swift, or are you going to upset Scooter Braun? Now, Scooter is a super powerful manager. He's one of the most powerful managers in the business, but he doesn't have the recognition that Taylor Swift does. How many people do?
When artists go to a new label, what benefit does that bring to them?
It is a creative partnership. People tend to think it's money, business, and it is all those things, but it's also a creative partnership. You can see artists and labels sort of, 6 albums or whatever, they kind of reach the end of their creative partnership. It's no longer fruitful, as many creative partnerships end up being. She had worked with Republic Records, which distributed her releases through Big Machine, so she knows the people, she knows the team. Universal, the parent company, is the same. So it's really, you've got Big Machine out of the picture, and otherwise it's all the same people, so they know each other. It's probably going to go just fine, and Taylor always has her eye on the prize.
Yes.
Now, not quite to this level, but there have been can't miss arrangements in the past, or seemingly can't miss arrangements in the past, that didn't work out. And You know, one that I would think about perhaps most prominently is when Mariah Carey left Columbia Records. Tommy Mottola, her ex-husband, you know, I mean, it had been a super successful collaboration, but they split up, got ugly. She went to a new record company, and the first record that came out was Glitter, which is one of the biggest commercial failures and creative failures in the eyes of many people in contemporary music history. So it can all go wrong. Do I think it's going to? Absolutely not.
Right, not in the case of Taylor Swift. And Taylor, she really is someone who she does the work herself, of course, with the support of her team and of her label. But like you said, she always has her eye on the prize. She knows what she's doing. I'm sure you'll be reporting a lot more on the millions and gazillions of album sales that Lover brings.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.